Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about Springtrap. And I want to go over the recent patch that buffed some killers. Springtrap was in there, but I think he kind of came up short with a lot of killers in that patch. A lot of the killers got very, very minor changes to some numbers, some so small that they're basically imperceptible. So a lot of people were kind of upset with how safe, I guess, the buffs were some killers. But the thing is, Springtrap, he's not like a victim of balance or anything like that. Balance wise, he's pretty okay in my opinion. What he fails at, in my opinion, is theming. Thematically, he's just not a good killer. Like in terms of Five Nights at Freddy's, he just doesn't. Despite him literally being Springtrap, the gameplay doesn't really translate super well. So this is not he needs to be buffed or nerfed or changed or something like that. This is more the developers said that they were going to address the thematic problem with his kit, and that was loosely quoting what they said in the video, that they wanted to make interacting with the cameras more impactful. So that aspect of his kit is extremely Five Nights at Freddy's themed. The problem is there's just no real incentive to interact with that mechanic. So he is potentially very well made in terms of the theming of the character, but the mechanic that actually has the theming is something no one interacts with, because it's always better to just do generators than maybe occasionally reveal his aura for 5 or 6 seconds or something like that. It just doesn't actually end up being worth interacting with it. So it's so close to being good, but when they said they were going to change that, I got really excited. And what did they do? Nothing. They just made it so the battery consumption for using the cameras was decreased, which doesn't do anything, because it's like if a restaurant was like selling diarrhea for $5 and no one bought the diarrhea, and then they're like, okay, you know what? Diarrhea is only 99 cents now. No one's going to buy it. It's so fucking diarrhea. No one's going to interact with it. So it doesn't solve the actual issue. You need to actually make it incentivized to interact with that mechanic, where there's just no reason for it to exist. So that's, I think, what we need to focus on, and maybe we can give some suggestions to the devs of what they should actually be doing in terms of fixing that problem. So there's a number of things you can do. The first thing we need to address is which direction are we going to go? So there's two paths. The first path is you're making it so that the effects of revealing Springtrap are stronger, like it slows him down or removes his axe for X amount of time, or just something like that. You know what I mean? Like, just you're making it so it's making the killer weaker, therefore there is an incentive to actually interact with this whole mechanic. The problem is Springtrap is not necessarily strong enough to deserve a nerf like that. So that, to me, doesn't track as a logical solution for the problem. To me, the only way to actually do this is to make him stronger and make it so if you interact with the cameras, it brings him back down to his current level, basically. That way, if you get one guy interacting with the cameras, every minute or something like that, then you're just playing it against current Springtrap. But if you ignore it, it's like ignoring, Pyramid Head's box or something like that. It becomes a giant hassle. And I think that's the only way thematically to get people to actually play Five Nights at Freddy's, because it's cool. The camera mechanic is really neat. It's right out of the game. It's very awesome. But like I said, there's no reason to do it. So let's make it, actually worthwhile to do that. So I think we need to go by making him stronger in certain aspects. And there's a billion ways you could do that. An idea I had was like every 20 seconds he loses 8 meters of his tear radius or something like that. That way, kind of thematically, it's sort of like Foxy, where if you're not observing him over time, the chance of a jump scare increases and increases over the course of the match. So that could be something right there. And then once the reveal actually happens, it resets his tear radius back to his base level, and then it restarts again. Just, something like that. Another idea that I and Not Spooky Loops had in my chat when we were discussing this is that you can make like a FNAF 3 reference where you can have like a security lockout or something like that. So after a minute, if no one has revealed him or something, all the gens could get blocked for 10 seconds or something like that. Just some like additional hurdle survivors would have to get over in order to make just one guy. Like, this is not going to change too much in terms of balance. Like, it sounds like we're just massively buffing him, but the truth is all it's going to do is make one guy have to interact with the camera for 5 seconds one time, like every couple of minutes or something like that. It's not some drastic thing where the whole team has got to go, like deal with this. It's just one guy can just go fuck off to a door for a couple of seconds and then fix it again. That way we actually retain the thematic, nature of the killer, but we're not like drastically altering his strength or anything like that. If you really wanted to, you could have some type of concession. Like, for example, if we make it so his tear radius progressively shrinks over the course of the match, you could remove the no more tear radius out of him coming out of the doors, which I don't necessarily really even like to begin with. And honestly, I run the add-on that makes me see the progress, on the generators based on, how what their color is. I think that add-on's great, and that also removes the undetectable aspect of his kit. So Honestly, I would be okay. Like, if you wanted a concession, I don't think he needs one because he's decent. He's not like overpowered or anything like that. But if you think he needs a concession, I think it's completely fair to like change how his Terradius works and make it more of like a Foxy related thing. I know that's more Foxy's thing, where if you don't look at Foxy, then you get the whole jump scare. But Foxy's not in the game, so we got to take what we can get. But just stuff like that. I think that's a far better idea than trying to punish the Springtrap just for existing and making it so, like, if you make it too strong on the Survivor side for revealing him, all that does really is make Survivor with Friends even stronger, because then you can make it so if, like, one of your friends is in a chase, you'd be like, hey, I'm in a really bad spot. I'm at a TL wall. He's about to hit me. Okay, I'll get on a camera. And then you disable his axe or whatever the fuck the debuff would be. Like, that kind of works, again, like, for coordination too well. So I think the only safe way to do it is to make the killer a bit stronger, because that kind of really does even out the differences between solo queue and Survive with Friends. Typically if he has like something like no Terradius or something like that, or all the gens get blocked or something like that, that's like, okay, well, whatever. Like, that, it doesn't matter if you can communicate that. I guess you can warn your friends that he has no Terradius a little bit, but you don't really know where he is. So overall, I think that's just the kind of idea vibes that they have to go for. But it does seem like lately behavior is playing it really, really safe, which to me indicates that they believe they have a good sense of balance right now. If they're not making like kind of drastic changes, it means they're fairly comfortable with the state of the game at the moment, which, it's kind of hard to say. Like, it doesn't really feel that bad. A lot of discussions I make sound like they're like just endless complaining, but it's because I try to, find points to talk about. But the truth is, there's not too many huge pain points right now. Some of the palette density is still pretty crazy and stuff like that. But for the most part, especially with Ghoul being recently nerfed, and then Blight is going to be getting nerfed as well, like, we're really starting to like pick the outliers in terms of like imbalances. And now there's like just a couple of things on Survivor that I would like to see, changed or tweaked or nerfed or something like that. So I feel like we are actually in a relatively decent spot, where my main discussion right now, again, the palette density thing is still pretty bad, but my main discussion right now is just like a for fun theming, reworking of a killer, or like changing of his power. So it feels like we're not in super critical state, and I feel like that's kind of what behavior feels like as well. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this. I think there's a lot of ways you can go with Springtrap, and I just gave up a couple ideas right there, but I only played like, the first 70% of the first game. So I'm not like a FNAF expert, although I did watch like an hour-long lore video. My brain exploded. I would begin to go into that. But I think there's a lot better ways to make him more thematic, and I would love to see what people that have actually played the games, a lot of them, can come up with in terms of that. But I think that's the correct way to do it. Anyway, enough yapping. Thanks for watching. See you next time.